going to record the session, so we're recording now, and let me see what I want to do. Let me share some stuff with you guys, and let's do this, and let's see this one here, and okay, so I think you guys can see my, can you all hear me? Are we good?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay, so guys, what I have here is, this is the review. So I just printed it all out. There's 40 questions here. And what I really want to do tonight is answer any questions you might have about anything. Just before I do that, I am going to, I'm gonna stop sharing this because I do want to share one other thing with you guys. And I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of this. Excuse me. So let me double check. Yes, you guys can see this now too. Okay, perfect. Guys, in the week 13 and 14 folder, and I think it's also in the announcement, I did upload the formula sheet for test 2. So the formula sheet is here. Make sure that you download it so that you can have it as reference. And just to give you a heads up, guys, not every formula on this formula sheet are you going to use, okay? So when you were going through it, like if, for instance, I'm pretty sure, because I was looking at the review and I just made it, week before last or whatever. I don't even remember if I gave any of the compound interest formulas or problems on the review. On the review, you're not going to get the test, okay?
Yeah, that one's going to be under, sir.
It's not on the review, is it?
Yeah, it's on there. I think it's one of the last questions. I think it's like 40 something.
Okay, let me double check. I thought. Let me see. So. Yeah, I'm looking at it. There is not one, at least it's not 41 or 40. 42 I did pull from you guys. Question. And I'm trying to see, it would be, if I did have it, it would be, yes. Okay, so I do see one. Yeah, number 7 looks like number 7 is one of those, okay? So anyway, there's one there. But anyway, just wanted to give you a heads up, guys, that the review, the formula sheet is there as well. So let me get back to this part here. Let me stop sharing this. And let me start sharing the review again. And then really what I want us to do, guys, is just answer any questions that you all might have had out of the review. Let me see. Let me bring it back down here. Okay, here we go. So this is problem number 1. Did anybody have any questions about number 1 that has, like, I know it's labeled 7, 8, 9, and 10, but it's, it's question number 1. Did anybody have any questions about a particular problem in general, or, I really want to just kind of answer questions that you guys might have. Are we good so far? Number 1?
Yeah, I'm good with 1.
Okay. What about number 2? Anybody got any questions about number 2? We're good on 2? One's going twice. Okay, so we're good with number 2. Let's see. What about number 3? Are we okay on number 3 as well?
I guess the ones that I have problems with is just the questions of finding the y-intercepts and the x-intercepts.
Okay, so for like a problem like number 3, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, more like section D and E.
D and E. Okay, but on number 3 though.
Yeah, off of number 3, I understand number letter A, B, C, but when it's not like the D and E's where I get a little iffy on.
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I'm hoping, let's see, is the easy breezy covered all way of doing this. Okay, so guys, first off, when I'm doing this, is it zooming in on your end too?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so perfect. So let me get my pen going here. Okay, so if we're going to look for, say, the x-intercepts, remember what the x-intercept means? It just means where does it cross this red line right here, right? And we're going to say, well, look, it's cross right there, and it's going to cross right there, right? So remember, x-intercept, every point has two coordinates. They have x coordinates and they have y coordinates. So just by it looks like this point here would be the point 20, and this point here would be the point 40, right? So in finding the x-intercept, I'm just going to kind of look at the graph, see what I can come up with, and hopefully it's not too difficult, right? I can just kind of look at the picture, find it, right? So now, if I was going to do the same thing to find, say, my y-intercept, the y-intercept would be, where is it going to hit this line here? Well, by looking at my picture, I can't really tell so far, but I know it's going to hit it somewhere further down, right? At some point, it's going to end up crossing, and it's going to be somewhere down here. So the way I find my y-intercept is I'm going to take my function right here, which is f of x is equal to -3 x minus 3 squared plus 3. Now, whenever we hit the y-axis, we have a point of 0 and some number c, right? Whatever that number is going to be. But the reason I'm telling you this is because, remember, this is my x value. So notice my x is going to be 0. So I'm going to take this function here, and what I'm going to do is I'm now going to find f of 0. Okay, so I'm going to go slow here just to make sure I'm doing everything right. So this is -3. Now, 0 minus 3 is still -3 squared plus 3. So this is -3 times, now, -3, when I square it, it's -3 times another -3. That's a positive 9 plus 3. So -3 times 9 is a -27 plus 3. And then finally, -27 plus 3 is going to leave me with -24. So the y-intercept here, we're going to put 0 and -24. And then for our x-intercepts, we said, let's see, the x-intercepts, we said we had the points 2, 0 and 4, 0. Does that seem okay for number 3?
Yeah, I got it.
Good. Excellent. Great. Guys, can I go on past number 3? Are we good with other parts? Are we good with parts like A, B, C? Are we good on those?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, excellent. So let's see. What about problem like number 4? Anybody have any questions about number 4? Or you all feel okay about number 4?
Sir, I didn't understand 4 through 6.
Okay, so let's take a look at number 4 and let's see if we can't figure it out. Okay, so on number 4, what I'm going to do, and this is going to be in the formula sheet as well. So I'm going to stop sharing this just for y'all to be able to see I'm coming up with this in my formula sheet. And so let's see, can you guys, yes, you guys can see it now, great. Okay, so in the formula sheet, oops, didn't mean to do that. What I'm trying to do is find my quadratic equation. Aha, right here. So I'm using this part right here. Okay, I'm using that, and that's my quadratic function in vertex form. Okay, So I'm going to use that equation or that formula right here. Let me share the review again. Okay, so the formula is f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. And what we know about this formula is the point h and k is what we call the vertex. So the vertex is going to be, in this case, it's going to be that point right there. So so that means that my h is 6 and my k is a -3. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start writing out my function. I'm going to say f of x equals a, x minus, we said h was the number 6 squared, plus k, which was the number -3. So instead of me writing plus -3, I'm just going to write -3, right? Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to see if we can find a value for a. In order for us to find a value for a, we're going to use this additional point that's given to us. So that point 0, 0, remember, every point is in the form x and y. But y and f of x really are the same thing. It's just another way of saying why we say f of x. Like if your name is Leticia, we call you Leti, that type of thing, right? It's the same sort of concept. So what I'm going to do now is where I have my x and my y, I'm going to plug in 0, 0. So f of x, which is the same thing as y, is 0. A, x is also 0, minus 6 squared, minus 3. Okay. So 0 minus 6 is a -6 squared minus 3. So 0 equals a. Now -6 squared is going to give me a 36 minus 3. Now, I'm going to rewrite this part here. A lot of times people want to do this part first, but remember, order of operations say I got to do multiply before I add or subtract. So this piece here really gives me a 36a minus 3. Now I'm trying to solve for a. So I'm going to go ahead and move this 3 to that side. And it becomes a positive 3 is equal to a 36a. So now when I divide both sides by 36, I end up with a equals, we can reduce this to 1/12. Okay. So now we're almost done. We're not quite finished, but we're almost done. The last part is just to write out the function. So f of x equals, so if you remember from up here, I'm just using this piece again. We already found our value of a. A was the number 1/12. X minus 6 squared minus 3. And now I'm done. So is that okay on how I did what number was this? Number 4? Are we good on number 4?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good? Okay, just checking with you guys. All right, so if you look here, so look, let me do another one and we'll just go about it the same way. So guys, before I go on to like number 5 or number 6, I want you to look at, I'm just gonna kind of clean some of this mess up right here. If you look at the picture that I have here, you know, it gives me part of the parabola, right? Remember, the parabola is gonna look something like that, right? Because it's always either going up or going down. So I know this parabola is going up. And the fact that it's going up is going to tell me that my number a is going to be a number that's positive. And look at the number we got for a. We got a positive 1/12. So when I came up with that number positive 1/12, it's like, okay, I'm going in the right direction because my parabola is opening up and it should, you know, give me a positive number for a. So I'll tell you what, I'll do, let's do one of these two here. I don't know, we'll pick number 5. And in number 5, the first thing I notice is that the parabola is going down. So all that's telling me is that my number a, whatever it is, it's going to be a negative number. Okay. So look, let's go about doing this the same exact way. The first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to write out my formula. f of x is a, x minus h squared plus k. Okay, so here is my h and my k. My h and my k is going to be my vertex, right? So let's write this out. We'll say f of x equals a, x minus a negative 3 squared plus k. K is the number 8. Okay. So then I'm going to go ahead and just fix a couple of things here. F of x equals a. Instead of x minus a negative 3, I'll say x plus 3 squared plus 8. Okay, so now the second thing we need to do is we need to find the value of a. So here's the additional point that we have. Remember, every point is written in the form x and y. So x is the number 0 and y is the number negative 1. So where the f of x used to be, I'm going to put a negative 1 equals a. Where the x used to be, I'm going to put a 0 plus 3 squared plus 8. So this is negative 1 equals 0 plus 3 is still 3 squared plus 8. Okay. Let's see, 3 squared is 9, and 9 times a is just a 9a plus 8. So now I'm going to go ahead and minus 8 on both sides. So I have 9a equals a minus 1 and a minus 8 is a negative 9. And then my last step is to divide both sides by 9. And so I'm coming up with a equals what, negative 1. And remember what we said in the beginning about our number a? We said that our number a was going to be what kind of number? We said it was going to be negative, right? So now the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this equation that I have right here, and all I'm going to do now is replace the a being negative 1. So I'll write out f of x equals negative 1, or you can just put a negative sign. X plus 3 squared plus 8. And there's my answer. So guys, again, that was number 4 and 5. So I want to give you all, an opportunity to be able to do number 6 on your own. But let me ask you a question. In number 6, would you say the number a is going to be positive or negative? Anyone know?
Negative.
Yeah, very good. It's going to be negative, right? And again, the way we know it's going to be negative is that graph is opening down, right? So if the graph opens up, a is positive. And if the graph opens down, a is negative. I still got to find the number, right? But at least I know the sign of it. So that when you're doing the work here, like when we did this work right here, we knew that we were probably on the right track because we came up with a negative number. So all that tells me, guys, is that if I was doing this work and I would have come up with a as a positive whatever, that would tell me, okay, you know what? I made a mistake somewhere. I did something wrong because a has to be negative. Okay. Excellent. Good. Guys, what other questions do you all have here out of the review? I'm more than happy to, like I said, answer any of them that you might have. Anything about 7, 8, or 9? No? We're good on 7, 8, and 9?
Sir, 7, 8, and 9, is that still 3.3?
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be either 3.2 or 3.3. So it's just after synthetic division for 7 and 8. So I want to say that might be 3.2. I don't remember off the top of my head. But I'm happy to do any of them if you have a question. Y'all want me to do one of them? Are y'all okay? I mean, guys, remember, I'm here to help you. So let me know what I can do.
I'm okay with like, but the only thing I have a problem is on 5.2. But that's like at the very end. So like I don't know if anyone is still needing
Okay,
help.
so the latest assignments that we were doing.
I don't. I know you said 5.1 and 5 up to 5.1 and 5.3, but
Yeah. So to give you a heads up, those two sections are not on this test.
and the 5.2, what section? I don't remember seeing 5.2 on the.
Yeah. So there's no 5.2, and it's only 5.1 and 5.3, but they're not on this test. They will be on the final, but they're not on this test.
Did we ever did 5.2 on
No,
the?
no, we didn't do 5.2.
Oh, okay, but they're gonna be on the review.
They're not on this review, and they're not on this test. They'll be on the final, but they're not on this part right here.
Oh, okay.
You don't need to worry about them for test 2.
Oh,
Every
okay.
like to worry about for test 2 is here in this review. So guys, remember this review really only had 41 questions because I pulled 42. And what I did is I picked 20 questions that came directly from this review. So that's why I'm saying if you know how to do these problems here, then you're going to be okay either tomorrow night or Tuesday whenever you take the test.
Well, it's because on the review, it's
Uh-huh.
it's like at least 5 questions. I have a 5.2, and I don't
Okay,
know.
so yeah, okay, so you know what question you're referring to?
I think it's the fx negative.
Yeah, but do you know, I guess my question is, on the review, what problem is it? Is it number 20?
It's this one, 20. You passed it. 20 up to 26, I think.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. So, that you see that 5.2 or whatever, that's just, what I did is I pulled some problems that I used to use when I taught in Austin because I thought the problems were a little more direct. But let's do something like this. Let's do number 20. So guys, just to give you a heads up, before I do number 20, I'm going to share the formula sheet with you guys one more time because I do want to see something here on the formula sheet. Okay, so this was the first part of the formula sheet. Let me see. It should be, here we go. So I want you to look at the formula sheet. It says finding the equation of an inverse of y equals f of x. Okay, so it says for a function f defined by an equation y equals f of x, find the defining equation as the inverse as follows. It says if necessary, replace f of x with y first. And then we're going to follow these steps, okay? So guys, I'm going to assume that you have the formula sheet there so that you can look at it as you need to. But it's basically 3 steps, okay? And it's going to be these 3 steps right here. So let me come back to sharing the review, and we're going to do that. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to write down this equation, but instead of using f of x, we're going to use the letter y. We're going to write y equals 6x plus 3. Okay, so now step number 1 says we're going to switch the x and the y. So literally, we're going to write this. X equals 6y plus 3. Now, number 2, what we're going to do, we're going to solve this equation for the letter y. So we're trying to get this piece by itself. So look, if we were to move this 3 over, wouldn't it become a negative 3? And then now, if we wanted to solve the equation for the letter y, we'd have to divide everything by 6. So we'd end up with y equals x minus 3 over 6. And then step number 3 says, instead of writing y, we're going to use this little symbol. And a lot of times people think it's f to the negative 1 over 6. And yeah, I know that's what it looks like. But the way I read this thing here is f inverse of x. And now you're done. Does that seem good for number 20?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, so I'll give you a heads up. 21, you're going to follow the same 3 steps.
Okay.
Good, good. I'm glad you asked that question. That was a great question. Guys, we jumped from like number 7 to number 20. Did anybody have any questions in the middle before I go on? So I don't want to, you know, I'm okay skipping over, but I want to make sure that you guys are okay with these problems here. So I think you guys told me that you 7 and 8. Did anybody have any questions about, I don't know, 9, 10, 11, 12, any of these, anything through here, guys? I just want to make sure that these.
I had a question for I think it's on 3.3.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to, I think it's number 11 or 12.
Okay. So I'll tell you what, let's take a look.
I think it's the last 2 questions.
From the review though?
Yes.
Yeah. But is it the last 2 questions of the review or the last 2 questions of 3.3?
Of 3.3. Last questions of 3.3.
Okay, do you know what number? On my review, I just printed it out, so I don't see. Is it like number 11? Is it number 12? Is it number 13? You know what I mean?
It's 13 and 14.
Okay, yeah, let's do both of them. Okay. So number 13 says factor f of x into linear factors given that k is a 0 of f of x. Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do here is, hold on, freezing up. There we go. Okay, for number 13, I'm going to use synthetic division. Okay, and I'm going to write the coefficients or the numbers in front of my x's here. So the number in front of the x to the third is 2. The number in front of the x squared is 7. The number in front of the x is a minus 14. And my constant term is a 5. And when they give it to me like this, like k equals, then the sign has already been changed for me. I'm just going to put the number right here. And remember, guys, in synthetic division, the first step is always to bring this number down. So I'm going to put that 2 right here. And now we're going to multiply. 1 times 2 is 2. We're going to add down. That's 9. 1 times 9 is 9. We're going to add down. Negative 14 and 9 is a negative 5. We're going to multiply again. 1 times negative 5 is negative 5, and we get 0. Now, this is good because it's telling me that the number k is a 0 of the function, which means that my remainder should be 0. Okay? So now, what I need to do is I need to figure out what does this piece mean. Okay? So remember, this is the number in front of my x squared. This is the number in front of my x, and that's my constant term. So what I need to do now, I need to factor that part. Okay? So look, I'm going to write it down here, 2x squared plus 9x minus 5. And all I need to do is factor this. So in order for me to factor this, I'm going to use the method of grouping. Okay, so I'm going to multiply the first number and the last number. So 2 times negative 5 is a minus 10. And now I'm looking for numbers that multiply to a negative 10. But if I were to add them together, I'd get a positive 9. I don't know, maybe a and a positive 10. If you multiply them, you get negative 10. If you add them up, you get a positive 9. So now look, I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to write it as 2x squared minus 1x plus 10x minus 5. And then I'm going to put a box around these two. And out of here, I can factor out an x. And I'm left with a 2x minus 1. And I'm going to circle these two guys. And out of there, I can factor out a 5, and I'm left with a 2x minus 1. Okay, so here is my common factor, 2x minus 1. My other factor is an x plus 5. And then we have a third factor. So let me show you where the third is. All right. When they told me that k equals 1, that's telling me that x equals 1 is 0. okay? So I want to rewrite this as a factor. For me to write it as a factor, I need to bring that 1 over, and it's going to become this one. And that's going to be my, we'll have f of x equals, and here it is in its factored form. Did I make it, guys?
Oh no, that was good.
We're good?
Yeah. Can you do the last one, 15?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so guys, I'll tell you something about 15. 15, it's not necessarily super difficult to do, it's just a pain in the butt, okay? But let me show you how I go through this, and I'll tell you what the pain in the butt part is. Okay, so look, it says find a polynomial of degree 3 with real close zeros of x equals, I'm sorry, -3, -1, and 4, for which f of -2 is -24. Okay, so they're telling me that x equals -3, x equals -1, and x equals 4 are the zeros of the function, right? Because it tells me that right here. So the first thing I want to do, I want to rewrite these things as factors. So I'm going to bring that -3 over, I'm going to bring that -1 over, and I'm going to bring that +4 over. So what I'm going to get now is I'm going to get f of x equals, when I bring this -3 over here, that's going to give me a factor of an x plus 3. And when I bring that -1 over, because it's crossing the equal sign, I'm going to get an x plus 1. And when I move that 4 over, it's going to become a -4. We're going to get an x minus 4. Now, the only thing we're missing is there's going to be some coefficient here, some number in front that we're going to call a. Okay? So now that I have this part, remember the other thing, there's another piece of information that we had here. And it told me that f of -2 is equal to -24. So remember what this means. This means is that when x is equal to -2, y is equal to -24. So I'm going to put a -24 right here, equals a, and everywhere I have an x, I'm going to write -2 plus 3, -2 plus 1, -2 minus 4. Okay. So let's see, -24 equals a. Let's see, -2 plus 3 is 1. -2 plus 1 is -1. And -2 minus 4 is a -6. All right, so let's see. -1 times -6 is a +6. And 6 times 1 is still 6. So this is telling me that 6a equals -24. So now when I divide both sides by 6, I'm coming up with -4 is equal to a. Okay. Now, all I'm going to do is right here, instead of writing the letter a, I'm going to write the number -4. So, so let me go ahead and do that. We're going to write f of x equals -4 times x plus 3, x plus 1, and x minus 4. Now, this is the part that's the pain in the butt. Since it says don't factor, I need to actually multiply this whole thing out. Okay. So all I'm going to do here, guys, is go super slow. Okay, so let me do it like this. X times x is x squared. X times 1 is a 1x. 3 times x is a 3x. 3 times 1 is a 3. Okay, and I'll take care of this x minus 4 in a minute. Okay, so let's see. -4. Let's see. This is x squared. 1x and 3x is a 4x plus 3 times x minus 4. Okay, so now let's start doing this part. So x squared times x is x to the third. X squared times 4 is a negative 4x squared. So I've used that one. I don't need to use it anymore. Let's see, 4x times another x is a positive 4x squared. 4x times a minus 4 is a minus 16x. Use that one already, don't need to use it anymore. 3 times x is a plus 3x. And 3 times minus 4 is a minus 12. Are we doing okay so far, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. This is a part, it's like, this is a part that say it's a pain in the butt just because it's tedious. It's like, it takes me a long time to do, right? Oops. X to the third right here. Okay, so looks like these 4x squareds will cancel. And then a minus 16x and a plus 3x will leave me with a minus 13x. And then I still have a minus 12. And then my last step is just to distribute that 4. So look, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. So negative 4x to the third. Negative 4 times negative 13. I don't know. I'm going to get my calculator real quick. Let me see. Negative 4 times negative 13. Positive 52. X. And negative 4 times negative 12. I know that's positive 48. And now we're done. Right. And so this was number, I already forgot which one it was. Number 15, right? Number 15 here.
So I have a question. At the beginning, you know how you have negative 4 x plus 3 x plus 1 and x
This one right here?
4.
This part?
The other part when you first started solving the
Over here?
yes. What would it still be the same answer if you would started with x plus 1 and x minus 4? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So think about it this way. Remember what I'm really doing here is I'm just multiplying. So if I were to ask you, what is, let me see, what is, oh, come on, pen. What is 2 times 3 times 4? Whether you said 2 times 3 is 6 and 6 times 4 is 24, or if I asked you 2 times 3 times 4 and you said, well, look, 3 times 4 is 12 and 2 times 12 is 24. You'd end up with the same thing, right? So really, even though this looks, you know, a little funky because it's a whole bunch of x's, since we're really just multiplying, the order in which I do it is not going to make any difference at all. But yeah, I agree. Yeah, you'd end up with exactly the same thing. That's a great question.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Guys, any other questions here?
Number 14.
Number 14, of course. Okay. All right, so it says, given that 4 is a 0 of the polynomial function f of x, find the remaining zeros. Okay, so it just says, list the other ones. Okay, so let's see, here's our function. I'm just going to move this over to the side so I can copy it down. Let me, give me 1 second, guys. Let me write it here on the paper, and then I'll write it down on the side. So f of x is x to the third minus 8x squared plus 36x minus 80. Okay. So let's do that over here. Okay, so let me just get rid of this part here. We don't need it. Okay. So we have f of x equals x to the third minus 8x squared plus 36x minus 80. Okay. And they already told us that x equals 4 is one of the zeros. So we're going to use our synthetic division again. So I'm going to make my little half box, right? And I'm going to put 1 and negative 8 and 36. Sorry about that. 30. Oops. 36 and negative 80. And guys, so over here I'm going to put 4. And excuse me, and we're just going to use synthetic division. So let's bring down the 1, and now we're going to multiply. 4 times 1 is 4. We'll add these together. That's going to give me a negative 4. We're going to multiply again. That is a negative 16. We're going to add down. This is 20. And 4 times 20 gives me 80. And there's my remainder of 0. So remember what we said. We said that this is the number in front of my x squared. That's the number in front of my x. And that's my constant term. Okay? So what I need to do is I need to find the rest of the zeros. I need to find the zeros of this function here. So if I were to write out x squared minus 4x plus 20 equals 0, I need to solve this equation now, guys. Okay? So first step I would probably try to do is I'd try to see, okay, can I factor this thing? So if I was going to try to factor it, remember the number in front of here is a 1, so I'd say, what's 1 times 20? It's 20. And if I were to make a list of my factors, what numbers multiply to 20? Well, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. But none of those numbers are going to add up to the number in the middle. None of them are going to give me, when I add them up, none are going to give me a negative 4. Okay, so what that means I need to do now, I need to use the quadratic formula. So remember, my A here is 1. My B here is a negative 4. And my C is a 20. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to write down my quadratic formula. Oops. X equals negative B plus or minus B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. And now I'm just going to start plug and chug. Okay, so negative. B is the number negative 4. Plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. Let's see, so negative of negative 4 is going to give me a positive 4 plus or minus square root. Let's see, negative 4 squared is a positive 16. Negative 4 times 1 times 20 is a negative 80. All of this is over 2. Let's see, 16 minus 80. I'm going to grab my calculator real quick just so I can see what this is. 16 minus 80 is like 64. Yeah, negative 64. All over 2. Okay. We're almost done. So now I have x equals, let's see, 4 plus or minus. Now remember, the square root of negative 64. Since there's a negative on the inside, I know we're going to have an I. And then the square root of 64 is 8. All over 2. Okay. So guys, the next thing I can do here, we can actually reduce this part here. So we can say that x is equal to, we can divide them all by 2. This is 2 plus or minus 4i. And so we have 2 answers. One of them is 2 plus 4i. And the other one is 2 minus 4i, right? So those are my other 2 zeros, right?
Sir, in the test, which one are we going to put? The first one or that second one that gives the 2 answers?
Let's see. Give me one quick second. I'm going to come back over here. And it says to type an exact answer, use radicals as needed. So it says list the remaining zeros. I would, because it says use a comma to separate answers, I'd probably put my separate ones here. So what I would probably do if I were you, George, I'd probably write something like 2 plus 4i, comma, 2 minus 4i. That's probably what I would write. But I will tell you this, when you're doing the review and you get to number 14, and again, I don't know if my numbers that I have right here are exactly the same as yours, but what I would probably do, I would probably see, does it let me just put 2 plus or minus for I? So you know what, give me one quick second, guys. I'm gonna try one thing here. Let's see, that was number 14, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, so let me see. I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna try to share one more screen with you guys. Let's see, Chrome tab. Oops, that's not the one I wanted to share. Sorry about that. Here we go. Okay, so guys, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try typing it in. I'm going to put 2. Here's my plus or minus button. 4. Here's my I, and I'm going to go check my answer. So let me do that. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Yeah. So you don't worry about separating them. Just use a little. And guys, again, just a quick reminder: just use a little. The little plus or minus thing you have there, and use the little I that you had down here in the menu, and you all should be good. Excellent question. Great. That's good. Okay, so let's see. Let's come back to our review. And perfect. We're back in business. Okay, guys. Any other questions here? We did 14, 15. What about? Are y'all okay with like 16 and 17? Are you good with those? You need some help with them? Okay, guys, I'll tell you what. I don't know if y'all need help with this one or not, but I wanted to show you how to do number 18. And the reason why I wanted to show you how to do number 18 was I know a little while ago, and I'm trying to see. Let me see. I don't remember if it was Cassandra, if it was Elizabeth. One of you asked me how to do number. It was the one that was the pain in the butt. It was, let's see, it was number 13. Yeah, number 13, and we did it, and we came up with our answer down here. So what the only difference between number 13 and number 18 is that in 18, it's what they give me is they give me a picture, okay? But the process and how I'm going to do this, guys, is going to be exactly the same, right? So I want you to notice we have our zeros here. These are the zeros of our function. So we have x equals -6, we have x equals 5, and we have x equals 7, right? And it says find the polynomial of least possible degree having the graph shown. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start writing this out with my factors. So remember, I'm always going to have some number a here, and then I'm going to write out, my 3 factors. So if x equals -6, then my factor is x plus 6. If x is equal to 5, then my factor is x minus 5. And if x is equal to 7, then my factor is x minus 7, right? And then the other piece of information that we know is that we have this other point here. So remember, every point is written in the form x and y. So I know that x is 0, and I know that y is 105. So remember, y is the same thing as my f of x. And the only thing I'm going to do is everywhere I have an x, I'm going to put a 0. 0 plus 6, 0 minus 5, 0 minus, it's supposed to be a 7, 0 minus 7. Okay. So 105 equals a times 6 times -5 times -7. And so I'm going to take my calculator again. And let me see. Here we go. So I know that -5 times -7 is positive 35. So this is 35 times 6 is giving me the number 210. Okay. And now I just need to solve for a by dividing both sides by 210. Excuse me. So now I know I can reduce this fraction by at least dividing them both by 5. So 105 divided by 5 is 21. And 210 divided by 5 is 42. I can divide those again by 7. Actually, we can divide them both by 21. And we get a is 1/2. Okay. So what's the difference in this problem, 18, and the one we did a little while ago? This one tells me they're very generous on this problem. It says type your answer in factored form. Okay, so in factored form, f of x equals a. We just came up with that 1/2 times x plus 6, x minus 5, and x minus 7. And I'm done. So do you see how this one was a little bit easier because I don't have to go through the whole multiplying the rest of it out? Does that make any sense, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. So you know that I told you that every problem that you see on your test came directly from the review. So I'm not a guy of surprises, right? I'm not surprising you guys. And if I ever put something on a review or a question and you say, hey sir, I don't remember going through this, and I'll go back and I'll check, and like, you know what, you're right, I didn't do that. Let me pull it from you. Between 15 and 18, which is the one you think I put on the test? Anybody want to take a wild guess?
Well, I'm hoping 18. It's a lot easier.
All right, and you got it right. Yeah, guys, no surprises here, okay? No surprises here. So you're going to see something more like number 18 on the test. You won't see something like 15, okay? Just to give you a heads up. But what I really want to point out is those two problems are identical. I mean, they really are the same problem. It's just that 15 is more tedious. It was a pain in the butt because we had to go through all that stuff over there on the right. All right. Guys, and so like, just to give you a heads up, 19, same exact type of problem. Okay, same exact type of problem as 18 was. Okay, no different. Any other questions that you guys have about any of these problems here? Please let me know, guys. I'm more than happy to help y'all.
Sir, can you do number 22?
Mm-hmm. Of course. Okay, so it doesn't look like my answers A, B, C, and D came out is nice and neat. But I can definitely do number 22. So it says, look, table for f of x to find a table for f inverse of x. Identify the domains and the ranges of f and f inverse. Okay, perfect. We're going to do this. And f inverse. Okay, so remember what a function and its inverse do. So when I look at this function that I have right here, the one that I just circled, right? When I look at this function right here, right? And if I were to ask you, what is f of 2? You would tell me f of 2 is equal to 9. So all that means is if we were to plug in 2 for x, we'd get 9. So the inverse basically just goes backwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these numbers here, and those are going to be the new numbers that I'm going to have on the top. And then these numbers down here are going to be the numbers that I'm now going to have on the bottom. And so if I look at this here, and I look at my choices A, B, C, and D, it looks like A is actually going to be the correct choice, right? Because what I just wrote right here is is exactly the same thing that I have for part A. Okay? And then, okay, now it says, what's the domain of F? So let me look at my original question here. Remember what the domain refers to? The domain refers to the X values, and the range refers to the Y values. So for the first part, it's going to say the domain of F is going to be the numbers 1, 2, and 3, and the range of F are going to be the numbers 6, 9, and 12. Okay. All right, and then it says identify the domain of F inverse. So remember, the domain are the X values. So here is now my new domain, and this is now my new range. So my domain is now 6, 9, and 12 for the inverse function, and my range is my 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense how we're able to do that?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Perfect. Excellent. Any other questions here, guys, out of anything? And I'll tell you what, 23, same type of problem, right? 23 is exactly the same.
Is 24 different?
Okay, so look, 24 says use the, it says use f of x to complete a table for f inverse of x, right? So hold on, guys, I'm going to try switching the battery on my pen here because it keeps going out on me, and chances are it's dying now. Let's see. Okay, so it says use f of x to complete the table for f inverse of x. All right, much better. Okay, so f of x is equal to x plus 5, and now we want to find each of these here. So remember what we said before, that I'm going to kind of come back down to the problem that we just did. So when I looked at this table right here, and then we found what our answer was, what did we do with the x and y values? Didn't we just switch them around? That's really all we did. We just switched those values around, right? So what this was telling me is that before, when I would plug in x equals 1, I would get y equals 6. When I would plug in x equals 2, I get y equals 9. When I plugged in x equals 3, I would get y equals 12. So then we said, well, what was f inverse of 12? Meaning, what number did I have to plug in for x so that my answer for y was 12? And we said, oh, we had to plug in 3, right? Or what answer did I have to plug in for x to get y equals 9? Oh, we had to plug in x equals 2. Or what value did we have to plug in for x to get y equals 6? Oh, we have to plug in x equals 1. So that's kind of what we're trying to do in number 24, okay? So number 24 is saying, what number did I have to plug in here for x so that my y number was -2? So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take x plus 5, and I'm going to set it equal to -2. So when I minus 5 on both sides, I end up with -7. So right here, I'm just going to put the number -7. And then I'm going to do it again for the next part. I'm going to say, okay, what number did I have to plug in so that I got 1? So I'm going to take x plus 5, and I'm going to set it equal to 1. I'm going to go -5 and -5. And I'm going to come up with x equals -4, and that's going to be my number right there. And I'm going to do this again. X plus 5 equals now 4. So I'm going to go -5 and -5. And I'm going to come up with x equals -1. And third or fourth time, I'm sorry, x plus 5 equals, in this case, 7. So -5 and -5. And I'm coming up with x equals 2. And that's how we would do number 24.
I got it.
Good, good, good. Excellent. All right, guys, any other questions that anybody wants to ask out of 25, 26, 27, 28? Anything here?
27.
27. Okay, perfect. Okay, so 27 says find the future value and interest earned if, let's see, if $8,704.56 is invested for 7 years at 6%. Part A says compounded semi-annually. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to stop sharing this because I do want to share the, whatchamacallit, the formula sheet again. So here's my formula sheet, and here we go. So I'm going to use both these formulas here, guys, okay? I'm going to use the first formula. I'm going to use this formula right here for the first part. And it says it says if P dollars are deposited into an account paying an annual rate interest R, compounded N times a year, then after 2 years, the account will contain $8 according to the formula. Okay, so I'm just going to use this formula here the first time. And then, the second time, I'll use that one. So let's come back and do our part here. Okay, so I told you I was going to use the first formula, and it's A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the power N times T. Okay, so this number right here, guys, that's my P value. Okay, that's the value for P. So I'm going to write A equals $8,704.56 times 1 plus R. R is my interest rate. So 6%, y'all, as a decimal, it's 0.06. Divided by N. N is the number of times it's being compounded. So they tell me it's compounded semi-annually. That's telling me that N is 2. Okay. And let's see. If N is 2, and T stands for a number of years, so 7 times 2 is going to give me 14. Okay. Now, guys, this next part here is straight calculator work. Okay, so I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to type in this in my calculator exactly as I see it. So give me one quick second. Let me get the calculator going. Okay, here we go. Oops. This one here. And okay, you guys can see this now. So let me turn it on. There we go. Okay, let me clear this thing. All right, so I'm just going to write down what we had, which was $8,704.56 times, and then you remember I had parentheses, 1 plus 0.06 divided by 2, okay, raised to the power of 14, and I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so the number that I'm coming up with is $13,166. And remember, I'm thinking about this in terms of money, guys. So my question to you, would I say 42 cents or 43 cents? Anyone know?
43.
Yeah, 43. Excellent. Perfect. Okay, so let me stop sharing this part. Let me come back to sharing the review again. And here we go. Okay, so we came up with the amount of, let's see, the future amount right here, we came up with $13,166.43. Okay. The second part of the question says, or the next part says, what about our interest? So remember, we already had this amount of money to begin with. this is how much money we have now. So everything we've earned is interest. So in order for me to find the interest, I'm just going to subtract this number here with that number there. So let me get my calculator. Let me do a little subtracting. 13,166 and 43 cents minus 87.04 and 56 cents. So my interest here is going to be $4,461.87. Okay. All right. So now let's do part B. Part B says, what happens if we're going to do continuous compounding? Okay, so if we're going to do continuous compounding, guys, this is the formula that we're going to use now. It looks like it's PERT. And so, again, my P is still my 87.04 and 56 cents. E is a number on our calculator. Okay, my interest rate was 0.06 times our T was still 7 years. And again, I'm going to do this part here, guys, exactly as I see it on my calculator. So let me stop sharing this part here with you. Let me share my calculator so that you can see exactly what it is I'm going to do. And let me clear my screen. So I'm going to type this in exactly as I see it, 87.04 and 56 cents. Now, the way I get to my E part is I'm going to hit times, because I'm multiplying, second, and then there's the button that says LN. It's kind of directly to the left of the number 4, and there's my E. Notice how it opened up parentheses for me? That just tells me that since it opened them up, I'm going to have to close them myself. So 0.06 times 7, close it up, hit enter, and now I'm going to, again, round to the nearest penny would be 1 cent. So now I'm coming up with 13,248 and a excuse me, and a penny. So 13,248 and 1 cent. Okay. And so that's going to be my answer for this part right here, 13,248 and a penny. And then now, again, to find my interest, I'm going to take this number here, and I'm going to subtract off how much we had. So 13,248 and a penny minus 87.04 and 56 cents. And that is giving me $4,543.45. All right. Minus 87.04 and 56 cents. Yeah. And there you go. Does that seem okay for number 27?
If you put it back on your screen, because I still see the calculator.
Ah, I'm sorry. Sorry about that, guys. That was my mistake. All right, let's see. There you go. And I think it's there now. And again, so guys, the one thing I really want to point out about this particular problem, number 27, is that the only thing you really have to know how to do is know what each of those different letters stand for. Like, what does the R stand for? What does the N stand for? What does the T stand for? What does the P stand for? Guys, a lot of times people say, what does the E stand for? The E is actually a number on our calculator, okay? So the E is actually a number. If you notice, it's still there. So I'm not plugging in a number for where the E is. I'm just using that. But it's these problems here, this number 27, it really is a calculator type problem. So once I take my numbers and I plug them in, then I'm pretty much done, right? And you plug it in exactly as you see it. The only thing I always recommend, guys, is when you're doing like the first part here, and if you notice, this part has N times T. So we already said earlier that N was 2 and that T was 7 years. I just do that part, you know, I do that part before I do anything else. Like I know it's going to be 14, right? So but it's pretty much a calculator type problem. Any other questions here, guys? 28, 29, 30, anything?
Sir, can you do 20,
I'm sorry, which one?
28?
28, of course. Okay, so it says the exponential growth of deer population in the country can be calculated using the model. And they give me a formula right here, so I'm going to use this one here. And let's see. 60,000 is the initial deer population, 0.07 is the rate of growth, and T is the total population after N years have passed. Okay, so remember what N stands for. N stands for the number of years. So to do part A, all I'm going to do is I'm going to plug and chug. T is equal to 60,000, 1 plus 0.7 after how many years? 3 years. This part again, guys, is going to be strictly calculator work. So let me stop sharing this and let me share my calculator so that you guys can see exactly how I'm typing this in. And guys, remember, whether I'm using this calculator here, but my calculator app works exactly the same, right? I just, I don't have it on this computer because, I don't know, STC is kind of funny about letting us put stuff on our computers, so this is the one that I have. But when I do the individual problems, I use my iPad, and that's my iPad. Okay, 60,000 times parentheses, 1 plus 0.07, close it off, raise it to the third, and I'm coming up with 73,502.58. So I'm just going to write that down real quick. 73,502.58. Let me share the review again with you guys so you can see what I'm going to do. Okay, so this is what we came up with. And the directions here are telling me round to the nearest 1,000. So my question to you, if you were going to round this to the nearest 1,000, remember the 3 is in my thousands position. Would you say that 73,502.58? Is that closer to 73,000 or 74,000?
74.
Yeah, good. Boom. And that's what we'd come up with for part A. Okay, now part B says if the initial population was 30,000 and the growth rate was 0.12, approximately how many deer would be present after 4 years? Okay, so let's go ahead and write this out now. So we're going to say T equals, instead of 60,000, now we have 30,000. Okay. 1 plus, instead of my growth rate being 0.07, my growth rate is now 0.12. And we want to figure out what's going to be our population after 4 years. So again, y'all, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. And I'm going to do this part on my calculator. And I'll show you exactly how I'm going to do this so you can see what I mean. And here we go. Okay, so let me clear this out. So we had 30,000 times parentheses 1 plus 0.12, all to the power now of 4. And so I'm coming up with 47,205.58. So I'm going to write down that number now. So let me stop sharing this and let me share the review again. And let's see. We came up with 47,205.58. Okay. And when I look at the directions again tell me to round to the nearest 1,000. So this is my thousands position. So would you guys say 47,205, is that closer to 47,000 or 48,000? Anyone know?
47.
Yeah, 47, excellent, thank you. 47,000. Okay, so we got part B done, all right. Now, part C says, how many additional deer can we expect in 2 years if the initial population is 35,000 and the growth rate is 0.06? Okay, so I'm going to write this down again. T equals 35,000. My growth rate is 0.06, and we're looking at 2 years. Oops. 2 years. Okay, so now let's take a look here, and I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to share the calculator one more time. Boom. There we go. And let me see. I want to make sure you guys, yes, you guys can see it. Okay, so let me clear this out, and I'm going to write 35,000 times parentheses 1 plus 0.06, all raised to the power of 2, and I'm coming up with 39,326. Okay, so let me stop sharing this. Come back to this. Here we go. We came up with 39,326, right? And let's see. The question is asking me, though, let me see. The question is asking me, how many additional deer? So how many more deer can we get? So if I were to round this number here to the nearest 1,000, that would be 39,000, right? And we started off with 35. So if from 35,000 we went to 39,000, how much did it grow by? How much did we add from 35 to get to 39?
4,000.
Yeah, that's what it's asking me for on part C, guys. So I'm glad that you asked me this question, because I think it's a good question in that, you can see how I'm doing this on the calculator. You can understand the process and how I'm coming up with these numbers. But then also when I get to part C, I really want to make sure that I understand the way they worded that question, what they were really asking me to do, right? Good, 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 good. All right. Any other questions here, guys, out of the review, 29, 30, anything through there? Any other questions? If y'all got questions, guys, I'm happy to answer them. Just let me know. Are we good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. George, you got any questions? Elizabeth, you have any questions? Sandra said she's good. Just want to make sure you guys are okay too. If there's anything, you guys let me know. I'm happy to help you guys out.
Could
Elizabeth, are you okay?
41?
I'm sorry, which one?
The last one?
41?
Yes.
Of course. Yeah, let's do 41. Good, good, good. Let's see. Let's come back to the review here. And let's do 41. Perfect. Okay, so it says a sample of 500 radioactive lead-210 decays to polonium-210 according to the function. So they gave me a function here. Okay, so part A says find the amount of radioactive lead, remaining after 3 years. Okay, so I'm glad you asked this question. The first 3 parts are going to be easy breezy cover girl, I'm hoping. Okay, so look, we're finding after 3 years. So all we're going to do is we're going to find A of 3. So I'm going to write this as 500 e to the negative 0.032, and now I'm going to plug in a 3, right? Okay, so let me do this on the calculator again. This over here, let's clear that out. And this is exactly what I'm going to type in, okay? So I'm going to type in 500 and then the rest of it. So let's do this, and this, and this, and this, and this. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to type in 500. Oops. 500 times second ln. Okay, and notice what I have here. I have negative 0.032 times 3. So I'm going to type in negative 0.032 times 3, and I'm going to hit enter. And the number that I'm coming up with is 454.23. So let me stop sharing this here. Let me share the review again. And let's see. It's asking me to round to the nearest integer. Okay, so to the nearest integer, 454.23 would just be 454. Okay. And then when I'm going to do part B, we're going to do exactly the same thing, except now we're going to plug in 6. Okay, so let me stop sharing this part and I'll share the calculator again. Okay, so I want to say you guys can see the calculator. So guys, just to give you a heads up, if you're doing the same problem, you can do this. Instead of having to type everything out again, and you can do this on the app too, you can hit second and you can hit enter, and it types in exactly what I had before. And the only thing I'm going to do now is instead of putting a 3, I'm going to replace it with a 6, and then I'll hit enter, and here's my next number, right? And so I'm coming up with 412.65. It is asking me to round to the nearest integer. So basically round to the nearest whole number, so I'll say 413. So let me stop sharing this, and let me share the review again. And here I'm going to put 413. And then for part C, we're going to do this problem exactly the same way we did before, except now we're going to plug in 20. And so I'll do this again on my calculator. So let me stop sharing this. And let's see, show the application screen, come back to my calculator. Here we go. And okay, you guys can see this again. So I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to go second, entry. And where the 6 was, I'm now going to replace it with the number 20. I need to close off my parentheses again because it took it away. And I'll hit enter, and I'm coming up with 263.64. So again, if I'm going to round this to the nearest whole number, I would say 264. Okay, and let's come back here. And right here, I'm just going to write in 264. Okay. All right, and then there is a part D. So let's do the part D. The part D is asking me to find the half-life. Okay, so let's talk about what the half-life is. It says a sample of 500, and that's why we have this 500 right here. So they're telling me that, let's see, A of t is equal to 500 e to the negative 0.032 with a t here. The half-life refers to how long does it take, meaning we're looking for the time for the amount that we have to decay to half of what we currently have. Well, we currently have 500. So half of 500 would be 250 equals 500 e to the negative 0.32 with the t. Okay. Now, what I'm trying to do here, guys, I'm trying to solve this equation for the letter t. So the way I'm going to go ahead and do that is I'm going to divide both sides by 500. Okay. 250 divided by 500 is 0.5. That's what we call it, the half-life. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is, since I'm trying to solve for the letter t, and t is my exponent, what I need to do is I need to take a logarithm on both sides. Since we're dealing with e, the natural logarithm deals with the base of e. So I'm going to take the ln, which stands for the natural logarithm, on both sides. Okay. So this is going to give me the ln of 0.5. Now, the natural logarithm and the e are inverse functions of each other. So what that means that they do, guys, is they cancel each other out. So that leaves me with a negative 0.032 t. And now to solve for t, all I need to do is divide by negative 0.032, negative 0.032. And I'm going to do this part here. Oops. I'm going to do, sorry about that. I'm going to do this part here on my calculator so you can see what we're going to end up with. So this is exactly what I'm going to type it on my calculator, and then I'm going to get an answer, and we're going to kind of, approximate it. So let me stop sharing this piece here with y'all, and let me share the calculator with you. Here we go. Okay, so there we go. Here's my calculator. Let me clear this out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my ln button of 0.5, and I'm going to divide that by a negative 0.032, and I'm coming up with 21.66. Okay, so that's my answer, 21.66. Let me stop sharing this here, and let me share the review again. So we came up with 21.66 years, and when I come back to look at, it says round off to 2 decimal places. Let me pull up my calculator again real quick, guys. It was 21.6608. Excuse me. So just to give you a heads up, the number that I came up here was 21.60. Oops. About that, 6608 years. So if we're going to round to 2 decimal places, it would just be 21.66, right? So right here, I'm going to write in 21.66, and we are done with part D. Let's see. Elizabeth, did that make sense on number 41?
Yes.
Yeah, good, excellent. Guys, any other questions y'all have about anything? George, are we good?
No.
Cassandra, you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, Elizabeth, any other questions?
No, that's it.
No? George, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So guys, make sure that you do, I'm not sure, I haven't checked the spreadsheet, but make sure you do sign up for the test, whether it's tomorrow night or Tuesday morning. And, again, guys, 20 questions that came directly from here, okay? The only thing that's going to possibly change, right? And I shouldn't even say possibly, that it would more than likely change is, like, for instance, if this problem was on your test, instead of like negative 0.032, it might be like negative 0.025 or something like that. But the process on how I'm doing it is going to be exactly the same. Okay, or instead of 3 years, 6 years, 20 years, it could be 5 years, 11 years, something like that. But the process on how we do the problems is going to be the same. Okay, so I try to keep it as straightforward as I could. But again, every problem on the test came directly from the review. All right, guys? So make sure, again, you have your calculator ready. Make sure you have your whatchamacallit, your formula sheet, accessible. And again, there's not going to be any surprises, guys. Everything came directly from the review, all right? So if y'all don't have any other questions, guys, y'all are free to log off. And I'll upload this video for anybody who wasn't able to join. If you do have any questions tomorrow, let me know. I'm happy to make little videos for you guys and send them out. So if there's another question you forgot to ask or there's something you needed, just let me know, and I'm happy to help you guys out.
Thank you.
Okay, of course. You guys have a good night. If there's anything you need, let me know, y'all.
Have a good night.
Okay, y'all do the same.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.